Hello everyone, Mr. Happy here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, aka Mr. Happy Mondays, the weekly Q&A show where you ask me questions and I answer them. So, last week at the beginning of the show and the day after I did Mondays with Mr. Happy, I made mention of the fact that YouTube has been overly strict about a lot of their monetization properties. I made a full video about it, and if you haven't watched that video, you should go over and watch it. You're probably honestly seeing a lot of your other favorite YouTubers start to talk about it a little bit if you follow them on social media as well. It's getting increasingly worse, so we opened our Patreon back up, and I've been doing some bonus content, some behind-the-scenes stuff. They've been getting access to certain content early. For example, the pre- and post shows of State of the Realm, which were previously Twitch exclusive, are now up on Patreon and will be posted there and then eventually released over on the YouTube side. As such, one of the things that we do is we like to thank the patrons who at least provide their name for Mondays with Mr. Happy. If you don't provide me your name, unfortunately, I cannot include you in the show. So this week we had a few patrons name themselves. We had Kiltastic Jones, we had Arthur Ramil Gaming Bishop, we had Darklight 2013, Serren from Zodiark, that's what they wanted to be known by, and I always just call him Obai. Let me see if I can say the whole thing. Obai Delshamsi 2. Those are the names they wanted me to say, so thank you for being patrons for Mondays with Mr. Happy, official sponsors for this week's episode. And by the way, any patrons' names will be permanently in the description of Mondays with Mr. Happy if they meet the tier that is available there. If you're curious about it, check it out. It's mostly just for the YouTube side of things. I know I'm live recording this on Twitch, but it's YouTube that's being affected by it. So it's really for that side of things and not really for the Twitch side of things. Twitch, there's all these other options that we have. So it's just for the YouTube side of things. But anyway, other than that, it's been a fantastic week. It's been a fantastic weekend with Dauntless, which I've been having a ton of fun with. But I'll be releasing a video for that. Or I think by the time you see this, I'll have put out a Dauntless video about kind of the Founders Alpha overview and things they could improve on and whatnot. So keep an eye out for that as well. On that note, we are finally doing a live Twitch episode, like I said. So I do want to get to the questions, so we have time for live Twitch questions as well. So let's get started. All right, question number one. Yo, Mike'thany Haptano. That's not my name. Yes, it was me, so I have a second hello as an excuse for last week's hi. Thank you again, and now a big question roulette. Another Ixion question. A tiny detail on a certain Lalafell. Is this a JoJo reference? I wouldn't know. So it's a joke question, so. Sheena's question, and should they bring this change to Steel, Cyclone, and Decimate? You know, I don't know a whole lot about Warrior. I'm not an expert, but I kind of want to know what this one is. Let me go with this one. That it cuts off 5 seconds from the Battle Cry cooldown for each monster hit. The Battle Cry cooldown. I'm assuming that might be the name for Infuriate in a different language. No, that would be crazy. That would be ridiculous. Like, I don't see it as something that's needed. If there was anything they were going to add to Warrior at this point, it would be to either continue to maybe push their damage a little bit higher, because their tank ability is really strong. It's their party utility people are still sometimes calling into question, even though having a home gang every 3 minutes for certain mechanics is pretty nice. And their damage is doing fine. But yeah, I don't think this would be something they would look at if they were thinking of changing things. Let's just wait to find out what the new Shake It Off does before we talk about making any more changes to Warrior, because I know we're all curious about what the new Shake It Off is going to do. All right, number 2. Hello, Mr. Hap. Sorry for my terrible bonus. You know, people, you don't owe me a bonus, but you've made it about bonuses. The bonus thing started as a joke that one person made, and I was like, that's a funny idea. And it's just people have rolled with it. I don't actually expect one, so don't worry about a terrible bonus. Anyway, thank you for the answer about crafting gathering. Wait, I don't even remember the question. If it was useful, I'm surprised. My answer. Oh well. This week's question pertains to being a healer. I've done tank and DPS, I've gotten proficient at them, just trying to expand my usefulness to different party groups. I know healers are not centered around damage, Yoshi himself said content's not designed around it, but I like to push myself to be proficient and efficient. Nothing wrong with that. My white mage is 52, I'm starting to notice how increasingly difficult it is to help beat down mobs. So, more specifically, when you're in dungeons that are for leveling, it's a little bit more difficult to do, because a lot of tanks don't necessarily treat the pulls with respect, which is something that you kind of need to have if you want to be proficient at healer DPS, and your tank needs to be, to some degree, respecting the pulls that they're making and respecting the use of their defensive cooldowns and the cooldowns of the rest of their party. So I wouldn't think about it too in-depth while you're leveling, unless you end up in a dungeon where you see the tanks rotating his cooldowns. You know, I have all this downtime in these pulls, and just getting more familiar with each individual tank you get while you're leveling. It's really something that you consider when you're doing content that's designed for a static level and item level, like level 50 dungeons, level 60 dungeons, and level 70 dungeons. Everything else in between you can do it, but it takes a little bit more understanding of how well your tank is actually playing. So don't worry about it too much, just try to practice where you can. Alright, number 3. Hey, Mr. Happy. Been watching all your guides, Q&A, and State of the Realm since 2.0, essentially, for the past 3 years. Have a bonus of the inevitable Aqua Soccer, not pushing back future content. I like your bonus. Anywho, I made my account just to ask this question. I was thinking of future Super Savage content ideas. Wonder if you ever thought of the possibility of a Super Savage, an actually difficult designed fight for Xenos. I would actually like Xenos to have a full-on crazy encounter. It kind of, the way it concludes is kind of nice, and in a sense, if you consider the Royal Menagerie, we kind of do have our ultimate encounter with Xenos. Consider that, like, you know, most bosses start as like a humanoid in Final Fantasy and then they transform into these like god monsters. This is kind of in that vein. So I'd say that technically, while it's not super savage, when we get Royal Menagerie Extreme going into 4.1, that will kind of meet what you're thinking of. I know that you specifically want the battle against the humanoid Xenos, but I think that the way it culminates is well enough represented that you are actually fighting Xenos. You're not just fighting the boss of the Royal Menagerie. He's involved in it. Alright, number 4. What's up, Haps? Lick my crit. That's such a good... I've seen it before, but it's a good name. Been a long-time viewer and sub since you started talking about A Realm Reborn in beta. Hey, thanks for the long-time support. Since this is my first time asking a question, have an all-expense-paid trip for you and your lady anywhere you'd like. She gets to pick the location, because she's the one who never gets to take vacation, because I'm always working. To be fair, we're both pretty busy nowadays since she started her job at PUBG. But, we could use a vacation. I would still be working through my vacation. I know me, though. So my question is, I'm currently a Samurai main and having a hard time finding any threads that are definitive on stat weights. So for stat weight questions, depending on the job, most people are just going directly with direct hit, determination, crit, and skill speed, kind of in that order. There are starting to be some specifics that pop up. Obviously, Bard and Monk having some crit scaling. They are taking crit over direct hit. Also, Samurais, I've started aiming for, it's somewhere between 1,000 and 1,200 skill speed. That's been kind of a static thing that is now happening, so you may want to consider that, looking to get between that number of skill speed and then following that order of direct hit, determination, crit, skill speed. But I can tell you right now, crit scales awfully. I probably wouldn't pay too much attention to the stat if you're not Monk or Bard at this point, until maybe 4.2 or 4.4, because as more crit becomes available, the stat should start scaling a little bit better. So try to go for that in terms of Samurai. Alright, number 5. Greetings, Mr. Happy. Greetings. Long-time viewer, first-time asker. I have a lot of first-time askers this week. Glad to see you're all asking questions for the show. Asking questions, I have a bonus of a free deck of 14 trading cards. I mean, I still have, this is the empty box, but here's the Opus 3-pack that I opened the other day. We always have that anyway. First, a non-14 question. I am and have been playing RPGs since high school. Have you ever tried the pen and paper RPG like Dungeons and Dragons? I had a lot of friends who were into pen and paper RPGs going into college, but I never got into it. I really get the satisfaction out of holding a game controller or controlling it with a keyboard and mouse. I have done like online D&D for a few weeks, but that didn't last very long either. It's something I like the idea of, but I really need to be like into it with the people I'm into it with, and I've yet to have that. It just hasn't really clicked for me. Second one is a 14 question. I played World of Warcraft for 6 years and had cursed and all kinds of things to help players. Came over to 14 3 years ago. I'm scared to death to even breathe or look at a third-party program. Why is Square Enix against third-party programs? It's the way that it obtains its information is what they don't like specifically about the third-party programs. Something about a proprietary information that it has to dig into, and that puts them at risk of stealing said proprietary information and replicating it and using it. So that's the main thing they don't like. Keep in mind when it comes to ACT, they won't ban you if you're not an asshole. The real thing that gets you banned with ACT is talking about it in-game and using it to harass people. There are plenty of people who use it and even share logs in-game, but only with the people they know and they trust. They don't do it in random groups. Yoshi P himself has watched kill videos for World First shit that has parsers on the screen. And he doesn't go, oh, well, that was impressive, but fuck him. You know, that never happens, so... It's something to consider, but it's not something to be afraid of. Alright, question number 6. If you hear wrestling, or what's it called, or what it sounds like, kind of like paper crumpling up, my cat's in his bed right now, and we have packing paper in there because he loves it. So you might hear him moving around a little bit. So number 6, Heyo Apps. I remember a question a while ago about spectacle creep with summoners and whatnot, I have a similar question. We got god titles for all the other ones. Where do you even go from there? I don't know. Super God. Listen, if Goku could come up with an evolution for a Super Saiyan God, then it's gonna be God of Magic. It's gonna be God Blue of Magic, or Blue God of Magic. I don't know. It is what it is. We'll find out at level 80. All right, number 7. Hey Haps, how you doing? I'm hanging in there. My job has me tired. I've been falling asleep in dungeons and waking up to find the party beat the dungeon and didn't kick me. You should go take care of yourself and not even be asking me a question, because you might pass out in the middle of typing this. Honestly, when you typed ... I thought maybe you passed out with your nose on the keyboard and just landed on the dot. I'm glad to see there's more question there. Let's see. So, never realized I gave you a bonus. First question, so here's a bonus of your favorite thing, a deflated blitz ball. See, you're smart. I'm a PS4 player. More recently, I've become interested in knowing what numbers I'm pulling. I got an 04 normal about a week ago, and someone who was praising. Found my Dark Knight was doing just about 2K, and the off-tank stance was a little depressed when I found this out. Honestly, I want to tell you this right now. 2K, while it's not like a fantastic number, I can tell you is a lot more than a lot of people do in normal mode. I've seen DPS that don't do that, so don't be too depressed about it, because it's something that's super... Also, you're wearing 310 gear with no melding? And what's your weapon? If your weapon's not even a 320 weapon, dude, I don't know, man. You think you're doing all right. Paladin matched me in damage in his tank stance, but when he started stance dancing, he beat me by roughly 500. Yeah, that sounds about right. Paladin's also very easy damage to access. Two-part question. Is there a way like a dullard myself can praise on the PS4, or parse on the PS4? The only way you're going to feasibly be able to do it on PS4 is not even on the system. It's when you go into things like Stone Sky Sea. If you Google Stone Sky Sea calculator while you're fighting a dummy, you can actually parse what your actual damage would have been by putting in how quickly you were able to kill the dummy, and then basically just dividing that by the amount of health that it had. So that way you can see, like, for example, if you've got 30 seconds less on the 3-minute Stone Sky Sea dummy, that Stone Sky Sea dummy has a flat amount of health. So you basically divide its total amount of health by the number of seconds it took you to kill it, and that would be your DPS. So that's the only way to do it, but you can't actually parse. What most PS4 players do is they get a friend. They say, hey, I trust you. Can you parse for me? Help me out. Blah, blah, blah. And yeah, you actually mentioned the Stone Sky Sea dummy. Am I state of luck? Second question, does melding give that much of a boost that a Shield Oath Paladin can match my damage? First of all, you're talking about 310 armor. You have to consider that a lot of people have their 330 and 340 weapons right now. So you're not giving me the whole picture here. I don't want to believe that you and this Paladin were equally geared. For some reason, I want to imagine he at least had his 330 weapon. I don't know what weapon you have either. For all I know, you said all 310 gear. Does that mean the weapon too? Do you not have a Susano weapon? Do you not have the 04 normal weapon? Says you got into an 04 normal a week ago, but I don't know if that was your first one, so you don't have all 7. There's a lot missing from this picture that I don't have information for, so you might want to reevaluate exactly what you were up against versus just looking at the melds. But yes, melds do provide a noticeable boost, especially for tanks who run all direct hit melds on the left and all strength melds on the right. If he had pentamelded accessories that had strength and direct hit, it goes even further in that direction. So yeah, that can make a huge difference, especially on tank. All right, number 8. Not a first-time asker, but have a bonus of unlimited and free supply of bacon for the rest of your life. With one condition, you must always pair it with vegetables of my choice. That's easy, dude. I'll just throw some broccoli in there. Dude, a potato is a vegetable. Just, oh, you know what? I'll take the bacon and I'll put it on the potato. Genius. Question is, mood-wise, atmosphere-wise, graphic design-wise, what do you think of the Deltascape Savage rates? Do you like the music? Do you think the environments are pretty? What do you think of the Neo X-Death reveal cinematic? And one more thing, FF Logs recently featured to show combined healer DPS and combined tank DPS. What do you think of this? Very simple. I like a lot of what Deltascape Savage does. I like it better than the steampunk of Alexander. The music is nostalgic to me, but something feels missing from the orchestral arrangements of the boss themes from everything except the Neo X-Death theme. I like the Neo X-Death orchestral theme, but the other ones are like, I don't know, I kind of prefer the originals over the orchestral versions, personally. I don't know if it's because I have nostalgia for specifically the old ones from Final Fantasy V. That's very likely to be a factor. But something just feels missing from those specific ones, and I hope that they let Soken make his own music going into the rest of Omega, as opposed to remaking old themes. So I guess that's where I kind of stand with that. I think the environments are cool. I think that the Deltascape itself is cool, but I do want to see something a little more varied going into the next one. I don't want it to all be in one castle next time. I want to see it kind of branch out. Even Coil, as you dived in, every area looked pretty considerably different as you went through first Coil into second, third, fourth, fifth. Whereas this one, they just kept reminding me, hey, I'm in just this castle. And then, of course, Neo X Death, everything about him is boss. As for FF logs, it's nice. It's a nice little thing, but it doesn't really matter all too much. We were already tracking that in FF logs, just it wasn't naturally combined. All right, number 9. Happy Monday, Mr. Whoa! Been watching all your Final Fantasy XII New Game Minus. I gotta finish uploading those. Thank you for reminding me. I'm at 33. I have 42 parts uploaded. I have to finish doing that. Thank you for the reminder. Especially when 90% spawn rate chests don't spawn 3 times in a row. When you first played 12 on the PS2, what were your first thoughts of the game? My first thoughts of the game was, okay, I'm going to put the controller down. And it wasn't like I'm going to stop playing. It's like, I don't need to be here for this. Set the gambits, let the game take care of the rest. I wasn't a huge fan. I'm a much bigger fan of Zodiac Age, where even when I'm doing that, because my characters don't feel as ridiculously overpowered, especially on New Game Minus, I feel like I have to be a part of the fight a little bit more in these newer versions versus the way it was in the older versions. So I wasn't a huge fan of Final Fantasy XII prior to playing Zodiac Age, and I had never played IZJS. Worth mentioning, I had never played IZJS until Zodiac Age came out. As for your squadron question, you answer we may get to use our squadron members in dungeons. Do you think a Gambit-esque system might work? I mean, it has to be. Either that or I have to naturally make them not dumb, which they've shown they can do with some NPCs, specifically the 3.56 quests. But, I mean, does it get to the point where I actually prefer running dungeons with my squadrons because they actually do fucking mechanics? I don't know. We'll find out. Alright, number 10. Not first timer, but since I'm in Jersey, your choice of local cuisine you miss most teleport. Dude, honestly, San Diego, like, almost everything is either the same or better in San Diego. Even the pizza. I shit you not. There's a dude that lives in San Diego who's got a place called Bronx Pizza. And when you're in San Diego and you hear Bronx Pizza, you're like, please. And then you get the pizza, you're like, holy shit, this is fucking New York pizza. He cleans it up a little bit. It's not dripping in grease because California, but everything else about it is like as authentic as it gets. So no, I don't miss any foods. I will say this though, there were more Greek restaurants there than there are where I am in San Diego. I don't have too many Greek restaurants around me, so things like octopus salad or a nice garlic chicken salad, I can get them, but a nice Greek place, I would prefer to go to it for that. Do you think it's worth stocking up on veteran clan mark logs? So I've gotten this question before. It might be, if you think that those are going to be used for the upgrades. Yeah, I mean, theoretically, we'll have 4 of those gets a coat and 6 of them gets a twine like we've had before, but it'll happen in a future patch. I'd like to believe that's how it's going to work, but I can't say it definitively. So my gut says yes, but there's nothing to say for certain that it's going to be worth it. Also, Machinist is your 7th job for leveling. It's fun, but turret placement is a pain. So I wonder if changing it to act like a drone would be feasible. I mean, it probably would be. They'd have to redesign some things, but yeah, I mean, I don't really like just placing the turret down either. Especially when you're trying to do AoE pulls and the tank keeps pulling it away from the turret over and over again. But it doesn't frustrate me enough to think they'd ever change it, and I personally don't think they will. Alright, number 11. Hey, Happy, how you doing? I'm doing good. How you doing? You doing alright? How you doing alright? 2 questions this week. I hope you can answer them for me, as I'm pretty stumped. One, is it me or do healers feel weaker now? Scholar felt that way. I hadn't played Scholar in years, though. Last time I played Scholar, I played it a little bit going from 50 to 60, obviously. And I played it at 50, but I barely played it at 60. I actually did some Final Coil with Scholar, and I loved it at level 50. But no, I know, they don't feel any weaker. Scholar's the only one that was a little bit hard to adjust to. But no, the other ones, they don't. I don't know. That's just me. It just doesn't feel any weaker to me. And 2, did Xenos remind you of Sephiroth at all? No, other than being a douchebag with a katana, no, that's about it. And with long hair. Douchebag, katana, long hair. Those are the only qualifying factors for me. He wasn't just raging on about his mother the whole time, thankfully. Alright, number 12. Holy shit. Is this a speed round? Hello, Mr. Happy. Welcome to Proc Monday 2nd edition with Reaper. Don't miss the bonus at the... Oh, you put the bonus at the end, you tricky dicky, huh? You can't skip any Okay, so yeah, it is. It's basically a lightning round. All right, so let's do this. Mondays with Mr. Happy number 76. You said you wanted to see a Geomancer. How did you know it was the healer for... How did you know it was the healer for Kugane? It was in the Astrologian quest line. 2. What game are you waiting for in 2018? Monster Hunter World? Yes. Anthem? Maybe. Kingdom Hearts 3? I just still don't believe it's going to come out that year. Number 3. With the way video games are evolving, is there anything you are looking forward to? I just want more games, dude. I play games. I want more games. Give me more games. Number 4. What's more possible? The return of Stone Skin? No. Or winning the Jumbo Cacpot 3 times back-to-back? Never. Both. They suck. Neither of them. 5. What's your favorite song of all time or top 3? Dude, I cannot possibly name a top song. I listen to house music, R&B, and rap. I don't know. Something from Eminem for one of them. I don't know. Number 6. Which Final Fantasy game had the best soundtrack? Dude, I couldn't pick one game. I could pick individual songs, but a whole soundtrack? Dude, I couldn't pick that. It maybe 6. Honestly, 8 had a pretty good soundtrack. I'm not a big fan of 7s, but it had some big hits. I don't know, dude. There's a lot of soundtracks that are pretty hyped when it comes to that one. Even Final Fantasy 13, as much as people talk shit, had a fantastic sounding soundtrack. Number 7. What do you do when an unexpected event you want to go to come to the same time as raid time? I say fuck raid because real life matters more. Number 8, your favorite type of weapon is... Come on. Knuckles. 9, what was the last game you played that wasn't a part of YouTube or Twitch channel? Well, I haven't made a Dauntless video yet since the Founders Alpha, so technically that. But honestly, I can't even remember the last game I played that I didn't put up on YouTube. And number 10, let me just make sure I'm scrolled down here because I wasn't before. No Serbian disturbing note this time. I know exactly where you're going with that one. Did you know that Rescue cancels LB3 lock animation? Yes, I did, because I've seen groups doing that in Neo X Death, and that is pretty friggin' impressive. As for the bonus, here is your pizza. Shrimp, corn, and sweet potato casserole. You want to know what's fucked up about that? I've had Korean pizza before. I've seen a pizza with those exact things on top of them. I shit you not. Thank you for your questions. On that note, let's slow things down. Number 13. What's up, Happy? I'll go straight to the point, because I'm rather frustrated. But you have a bonus to the Yoshi saying, any mention of Blitzball from 14 subs will get them permabanned. Yes. You just mentioned, yeah, you see, you found the flaw, because you just mentioned it. It's fucked up. I'll preface this by saying this might come off as elitist, but I just got my 5th job to 70, never had issues with the first 3. It seems more and more common that once you get to Doma Castle and above, people are still using 260 gear, including weapons and DPS, and they say not everyone's rich, but the normal HQ items are really cheap. Honestly, I don't know how you get that far without picking them up from the dungeons, because that's usually how you're leveling at that point. You don't just... I guess... Yeah, like, I don't know how you wouldn't have gotten to 67 without doing a few bardoms and at least getting some guaranteed loot. Sometimes people leave out like a few pieces because they didn't get upgrades for it. Let's see. So I've even started seeing people join level 70 content without their level 70 job quest done. So to be fair, that is not as uncommon. It's kind of reasonable that that's not that common, or that does happen in the first place. All of your job quests, you do it at 60, 63, 65, 67. None of them give you abilities. So some people just assume that the level 71's not going to, and then it does. So that doesn't surprise me as much, because only the level 70 job quest gives you armor and gives you the armor and the ability itself. So that itself doesn't actually bother me. Why is this a thing? I guess I just answered it. Yeah, that's a thing. That's it. People are also leveling through PvP. That could be it. Palace of the Dead, obviously, but 67? At that point, if you've been leveling with PvP, you're probably still going to be leveling with PvP. Alright, number 14. Hey, Guy. Why do you call me Guy every week? That's not my name. My name is Happy. Call me Happy. Thanks for answering my Stormblood healer question. Sorry for the weird guy from the... But you just called me Guy again! You're still calling me Guy. A guy was kind of weird. Apparently, voice to text on the phone. Oh... That's interesting. You're doing voice to text to type this on the phone? That's actually pretty cool. Anyway, Guy. Okay, now you did it twice. Come on. Happy is not that hard to say into the text speech on the phone. Why are dungeons such as Brave Flocks, Longstop, Stone Vigil, Dusk Vigil, and the Vault seem to become a steep learning curve? By that I mean tanks and healers get overwhelmed and people get destroyed. Since I've just reached the reunion in Stormblood, are there any future dungeons that I should watch out for as the learning curve? Yes. So the reason why those dungeons are, Brave Flocks Longstop used to be worse. is the first point where people can do a dungeon as a job. So for a lot of people, that was a tough one because it was right when tanks were getting their tank stances, and a lot of new players didn't fully understand the point of jobs. And a lot of times you get people who don't even have jobs unlocked in Brayflock's long stop. That, and there used to be other problems with it, like some of the healers don't have Asuna. A lot of the issues with Brayflocks in particular have definitely lessened, but you can still have people that aren't used to all the roaming enemies and don't know the bosses very well, and just the enemies start hitting a little bit harder because they anticipate you being on your job and being prepared to play your job. Stone Vigil is right after the level 40 job quest, but the mobs there are just monstrously hard in terms of how hard they hit. And especially at this point while leveling, a lot of people don't upgrade their gear while they're leveling. Brayflocks, again, you usually are okay for, but think about the first few dungeons you do, the level 15 through 24 dungeons. You at least have the brand new gear, and you've probably picked up something at that point. But by this point, people are starting to kind of just ignore the gearing process overall. Their job quests aren't even giving them a piece to, like, look at this point anymore when you get to Stone Vigil, and it's just a hard-hitting dungeon. Dusk Vigil, I don't know, I just think that dungeon's shitty. I don't know what it is about that dungeon, but the dungeon's just shitty. The ice elementals also hit pretty hard. And the vault is one of the first dungeons that really starts to out-gear you in terms of a leveling dungeon versus the gear you might have picked up at level 50. And that's what you're going to look out for in Stormblood. Bardam's Metal vastly outpaces the defenses of the old level 60 Heavensward gear that you could pick up. The amount of defense you get from going from a 270 piece to a 276 piece is massive. It's like a 20% difference. So level 65 Bardam's Metal is the first time it happens. But then going from 65 to 67, it happens again, and then 67 to 69, it happens again. Once you get to level 70, it evens out, and it's not that bad. But those three, the level 65, 67, and 69 dungeons in Stormblood fall into that same category as the Vault. Odd that Google doesn't feel that bad regardless, but expect to have a similar feeling in those specific dungeons. Alright, number 15. Hello, Mr. Happy. Hello. Mine is not quite a question, but something you might want to mention to others. Alright, there's a Party Finder regroup for Omega Savage that sneaks in the Loot Master rule without mentioning it on the Party Finder. So, correct me if I'm wrong, but when you queue in, doesn't it tell you that the loot rules are set to Loot Master? Like, when you actually go in, you get, like, on-screen text. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. I'm not surprised. This happens in MMOs all the time. It happens. It just happens, dude. This isn't even something you can warn people about. This is the internet. This has been happening for decades in MMOs. You literally can't. But okay, so my Twitch chat is confirming for me. When you enter a raid, you get on-screen text that tells you what the loot rules are set to. I wasn't imagining that. So that's your tell. You know, if you end up inside with them, you just go, well, fuck this. I'm out. I'd say the bigger problem, as my chat's also pointing out, is the people who don't know how to queue in a way that prevents queuing in with someone who's already cleared. That can cause problems. Oh, but you do say that right here. But since it wasn't mentioned once, it usually is in the rule. Yeah. All right. Well, that's it. Oh, you also added a question. I should add a question about the Party Finder. What's the weirdest Party Finder description you've come across? The lyrics to Baby Don't Hurt Me. Or What is Love, where somebody puts what is love, and then another person goes, baby don't hurt me, and then another person goes, baby don't hurt me, and then another person says no more, and then another person says no more. I've seen that. It happens. All right, number 16. Hey, Mr. Happy, Final Sim here, and welcome to Mondays with Mr. Happy, the weekly Q&A show where we ask you questions and you answer them. Goddamn right. What do you think of the changes to jobs? What do you think the job changes are going to be in 4.1? We're going to get a new version of Shake It Off. I have a feeling we'll see more summoner changes and potentially more machinist changes, although people are just at this point maybe not happy with the way Machinist plays, but Machinist is doing okay right now. I don't know, Shake It Off is really the big one that I'm looking forward to in 4.1, but other adjustments, I don't know, man. It doesn't really feel like Monk or Ninja needs adjustments. Dragoon, it's still a matter of fun, like how fun it is to build up to Life of the Dragon, but performance-wise, they're doing okay. Summoner still has the issues with if you die, you're like royally fucked, like way more royally fucked than everyone else. So yeah, I don't know. And scholars are doing okay right now, but some scholars are still not happy with the way the job feels. That seems to be the big thing, is even the jobs are doing okay. People don't really like the way they feel, so we may see changes to those jobs. That's realistically the only thing that I can imagine at this point. I just don't want to see Dragoon get too overbuffed and we end up back in the piercing meta, as my Twitch chat is bringing up as well. So that's going to be the big thing for me. How long do you think it'll take for people to clear the next Super Savage? If it's not item level, like if you're supposed to be item level 340 to beat it, and there's no like, you're not going to get any more gear in order to progress on it, which is how I imagine it'll go. It becomes a strictly mechanical fight with no sort of item level scaling. Fights like that don't take more than 1 to 3 days to beat. If there's not something item level wise that's stopping you, people will unravel its puzzle within 1 to 3 days. So that is my anticipation. The majority of people won't even be able to fucking touch half the mechanics, but groups that were progressing in World First should probably take it out in a day, in 1 to 3 days. That's going to be my prediction. All right, number 17, Happy Monday. As a bonus, I shall blot out the sun. I don't know why I turned that into a song. Do you buy every main series Final Fantasy game regardless of first impressions? I buy every Final Fantasy game regardless of first impressions. I make my own first impressions. I make them and I tell people my first impressions. So yes, I will purchase any Final Fantasy game that isn't like universally known as like the worst thing ever to exist. Like, fuck, the name is escaping me right now. Yeah, I'll just do it. But for mobile and non-series main games, like I won't buy Final Fantasy V on the phone. I have it on Steam. Like I won't do that, but you know, I'll at least try out some of the Final Fantasy mobile games. Number 18, do you enjoy any weird food combinations, such as do you put ketchup on your eggs? I can't stand that. When I see people do that, I can't do it, man. Or pineapple on your pizza. No, I don't. I really like pickles. I've put pickles on like peanut butter sandwiches and shit like that, or like peanut butter and jelly sandwiches. I'll eat a pickle with anything. That's about it. That's like really the only thing. I can't really think of another weird food combination that like is like exclusive to me. You know what I mean? That's about it. I like pickles. I like pickles. All right, number 19. Happy howdy, Mr. Happy. I don't know why I keep doing that. Anyway, maybe there will be an engineer disciple of Han that specializes in making Mammoth Puppet Master companions. I'd probably make other stuff first. Prior question on the list about ketchup so you don't like ketchup in, on, or around buttered corn. Yeah, that's fucking disgusting. Agreed. All right, so looks like we have a roulette here. Let's do analysis. I'll take, under the analysis, I'll take part 2. Any predictions for other legions, the personality of their leader, and what reference their arc will have? So, Xenos didn't really follow any Final Fantasy 12 arc, per se. It had inklings of things that happened in Final Fantasy 12, but he didn't really, it didn't really operate all that much for him. Most of the Ivalice stuff that you'd probably attribute to the 12th Legion is what's going to be happening in Return to Ivalice. But the 12th Legion has lost their leaders, so I don't know what his involvement's really going to be anymore with when we go to the city-states that resemble the Ivalice cities. So I don't know, man, because they made it very clear with the first bunch. You know, we had Nail, who was literally Sephiroth. Like, he has literally a recreation of the fire scene. He summons Meteor, blah, blah, blah. Gaius is original to 14, and so is his mission. Number 6 deals with the leader of the 6th. Regula deals with the Warring Triad, and he's closer to General Leo than he is to Kefka. But Xenos had very few what felt like tangible Final Fantasy 12 connections, so it's hard to tell if they'll continue kind of using the legions the way that they did with the first several. But your guess is as good as mine. All right, number 20. Hey, Happy. Hey. How about a first-time bonus of a terrible joke? Oh, don't do it. What Link Pearl network does a Red Mage use? Verizon. Next question. Nah, I'm kidding. Anyway, my question actually does have to do with mobile phones. Apparently, at PAX East, Yoshi P had to talk about a mobile app that will allow you to chat with your Link Shells in free company. Yeah, he said they've been working on that for a while. He said he wanted it out by the end of this year. They got it working so that you could talk with the Link Shells and free companies on the phone, but they wanted to add other functionalities. I think things like retainers, the ability to check the market board, stuff like that. Before Stormblood, no, he said, last I heard, he said he wanted to launch it for the end of the year, not before Stormblood. When he said before Stormblood, he said that when they were just going to launch it as Free Company and Link Shell chat, and they said that it was done before Stormblood. but that they were going to hold it off to the end of the year to get all the functionalities working, as opposed to just releasing it as a chat function and then bringing all of those things later. So that's going to be how that's going to work. We'll see what the status of that is. Maybe we'll find out more at the 14-hour broadcast that's coming up. And this is the final question coming from the forums before we get to the people at the live Twitch chat. Hey, Haps, how you doing? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? I'm doing all right. You doing all right? Okay, I can see you doing all right. Questions this week. 1, can you tell us about a time when you had a party or teammate that was the hero, either saving you or the entire party? I've been that in Dauntless a lot the past weekend. I'll just put it that way. I'm sure I've had tons of them where people have saved the entire party. I mean, red mages do it literally every other duty finder group I've seen. So, you know, oh, healer died, red mage. Get up. You're disgracing us. Anyway, I've seen that a lot, but that's about it. Or like a bard who used to save people with the LB3 back when bards had a healing LB3. Long time ago, I know, but it did used to be the case at some point. Yeah, I've seen it plenty. I just couldn't name one that stands out to me. It's just kind of something that happens on occasion. 2, what do you think will be the next esports game? Dude, there's no way of knowing what the next big esports game will be. I mean, PUBG has the Invitational at Gamescom coming up this week, and I don't know what their plans are for esports. My girlfriend won't tell me anything. My girlfriend works at PUBG, and she's just like, I'm not fucking telling you anything. I was like, it's probably better that way, because people ask me questions a lot, so... I don't know, man. Like, League of Legends, Dota 2 had a really good showing for the International. I don't know what... There's no way of knowing a game is going to be the next big esports game, because you need it to be moderately supported, and you really need... Excuse me, you really need the developers to dive in on it, and people have to, like, be able to watch it and understand it and enjoy it. And I don't know, man. It's... Like, when I think of what's the next big esport... I never think that about normal sports, and I understand it's very different because video games versus like sports that were been around for fucking centuries at this point, they're fucking longer than that. But I never think what's the next big sport. So when esports comes around, it's like I never think what's the next big esport. I think what's gonna have competitive PvP, and that's like the end of it for me. You know, I still kind of relate the two in that way. So I don't know, man. I don't think there is one that's on my radar right now that could be big on esports. But there are games out there that are still very clearly working towards competitive PvP. So that's going to be the last question over on the Dream Network forums. Now I can stop cutting off the bottom half of my face when I lean forward to read them, and we can get some questions from the Twitch chat. Twitch chat, you've got maybe 2 or 3 questions worth of time, so go. Alright, so the first question we have here is coming from Ripcore. What's your take on programs that call out boss moves? Had people say the better when they have this program called the moves. I hate that shit, man. Bosses, like, for me, in PvE, it's like, I understand that sometimes an ability might be scripted and it may not always be on the same person. But, like, why are you even playing the game at that point? If you need something else to do the job for your brain that... you just apparently can't. Like, I guess some people say it's almost like a learning aid in a sense, where they use it to help them sort of just do their job. But for me, it's always just been like, I've never used deadly boss mods in World of Warcraft. I had no problem with any of the encounters I did. I've never used callouts or like automated callouts. Like sometimes teammates call it out, but that's something there. But it's like, can we just not have a machine do it? Can we just like use our brains in the content like for once? I do. Can others? I hate those programs. I don't like them. Learn to fight. Do it yourself. Stop making excuses to have something else do it for you. Alright, next question from Roko. Mr. Mrhappy, with your significant other away for business a lot of the times. She's not away a lot of the times. I mean, we both go to a lot of conventions, like, together. Although we generally don't spend time together until the evenings in those conventions. When we go out for dinner, we go to parties, because we have different agendas while we're there. How do you deal with being alone or home alone? And does it drive you crazy to be away? I don't sleep as well when I'm sleeping alone. That is probably the biggest thing. I don't know. I sometimes feel kind of drained of energy whenever I'm at the apartment alone. Like, she's away in Gamescom right now, so I have the place to myself. And for some people, that's a blessing. It is nice to get a little bit of space, just because we both work from home. We're always home if we're not traveling. So, or if we're not home, we're out together. So there's no there's no space between us. We never have time to like cool off and like just do that real quick. So it's okay for that, but like that's a day. You could do that in a day. You don't need like 10 days like this the way it works. So that's about, I'd say the biggest thing is I just kind of work more, because when I'm working, it's a little bit easier for me to do that. So that way, it's only when I'm trying to fall asleep that sometimes it feels a little bit different. Other than that, though, we both handle it pretty well. We talk to each other. We say good night. We say good morning. We check in to see, you know, I tell her what I'm doing. She tells me what she's doing, blah, 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 you know, normal relationship stuff. So luckily we started long distance, so it's a little easier for us than it probably is for some other people, especially just being away for 10 days. But that's pretty much the gist of it. It's not that bad, but, you know, it's not great either. All right, the last question I'm going to be taking from the Twitch chat for this week is from Cirrus Wolfbane. Mr. Happy, I know you've been playing Dauntless the last few days. How does it compare to Monster Hunter, and where would you like to see it go as per future development? So it's slower than Monster Hunter, but it does have a lot of redeeming factors in a sense of the timing of when it's being released, as well as the gameplay being... at its core, it's fun. It doesn't have any crazy depth, which is good for people who are probably hopping into a monster hunting genre for the first time. The fact that it'll be free to play when it fully launches is an advantage if, and this is a huge if they don't fuck up the premium currency. That is huge if you're going to do a game that's known, like a game genre that's known to be grind heavy. Being free to play is dangerous territory. We already know that you can use it on glamour stuff, which is expected, but we also know about the champion status, which is basically like the paid status that gives you increased drop rates. From what I've seen so far, they're doing that as well as they possibly can. For one, the champion status is AoE, so if one person has champion status, everyone in the group has better drop rates. The thing that gets dangerous is that stacks. I don't know how well it stacks, but the main thing is it doesn't affect drop rates from things like standard plants or from actually killing the behemoth itself from the parts that you cut off. It only seems to be affecting the drops that you get from the cores after clearing the mission. So that is, it's not like encompassing every aspect of the game. It's only encompassing one part, which is good because it feels good to get those bonuses from the core. But you're making sure that if people are cutting off the tail of an enemy, or people are out there trying to farm grass to make potions and shit, they're not limited for not being subscription-based. But if you really want those bonuses on the cores, which you probably will, on top of having the champion status and everyone seeing it and all that other stuff, that's good. So that's really where Dauntless has to play it close. Obviously, it's in alpha right now, so they have other things. They need to fix optimization in the cities. Hitboxes are still a little wonky. But it's got the core of what could be a very good alternative to Monster Hunter. And more importantly, one that will see updates. Hey, it launches with X amount of weapons. They add another new weapon. It launches with X amount of behemoths. Hey, it's got new behemoths. Maybe they do things like limited time behemoth challenges for the community. The fact that it could be updated, it could be added to, and the fact that it's being put out by, I'd say, a relatively small studio is quite impressive. But that doesn't mean you have to excuse and say, well, it's just an indie game, so whatever. It does need to be paid very close attention to in terms of how they go about adding weapons and updating it and supporting the game. Because the idea is, even with Monster Hunter World, if they don't do a good update schedule with Monster Hunter World, because it's not Monster Hunter Online, or it's not like the MMO that's available in Japan, Monster Hunter Online, it could very easily fall into obscurity before Monster Hunter World even hits. So it's a fine line to walk, and I'm curious how it will work. But I've been behemoth hunting for maybe 20 hours now, and I'm having a damn good time. So if that can keep up going into the betas and into the launch, I'm going to be excited. And I'm looking forward to seeing how Dauntless actually pans out, if they add any depth, if having all the different armor types ends up being worth it, and how they end up balancing things and fixing up the UI. There's a ton of things that in the Founders Alpha that people want to see changed. They want ranged weapons. They want the camera to zoom out a little bit more in the city. There's a bunch of other things. But at its core, I think it has the potential to be a good introduction to a lot of people into the monster hunting genre. And with it being free to play, the entry level is, well, non-existent. And as a streamer, I could give my champion status to people who don't have it, and they can get bonus loot. So that's going to be good. Curious to see how it ends up working out, but we'll have to wait and see. I'll be putting out a video on my overview on Dauntless and a bunch of the other things. and a bunch of other videos on it as well. But that's going to be the last question I take from the Twitch chat that is going to be this week. So thank you, everyone, for asking those questions. Again, thanks to the patrons, like I said at the beginning of the video. If you're looking to support on Patreon, or if you have ideas for things we can add to the Patreon to make it a little bit more community-based, be sure to put that in the comment section of the video as well. Also below, which is what I was trying to get into saying, below the video, if you're watching this on YouTube and not Twitch, there will be a link in the description which goes to the question thread for next week, number 159 next week. I barely even celebrated my 3rd year of this. Just feels like it just goes week after week and I don't even think about it. But anyway, that's going to be a wrap over on the YouTube side of things. I'm going to hang out with her a few more minutes on the Twitch side of things, and then I'm going to go eat some lunch and get working on some videos. So thank you for watching. I will see all of you on YouTube next week. Twitch, we'll hang out for a few minutes, and until then, take care.